Hi, everyone. Thank you for attending our lightning talk session. And thank you to the audience that are also joining us online. Welcome again to the third day, I suppose, to Internet Governance Forum 2025 in Lillestrøm. So we are from the seg1 Internet Lab. We will be telling you more about what our initiative actually is. My name is Baltazar from seg1 Internet Lab, and this is my colleague.
Patricia.
Also from seg1 Internet Lab. So as the name may have slightly suggest, we are a research collaborative. We are a research initiative based in Jakarta, Indonesia. We are humbled to have been given the opportunity to present our work, starting by introducing seg1 Internet Lab in Internet Governance Forum 2023 in Kyoto, followed by the 2024 edition in Riyadh, and then now 2025 in Lillestrøm. So we're grateful for the continuation so that we can present the progress of our research and engagement in the Asia-Pacific region. So we begin the journey rather new. It was probably 2.5 or 3 years ago. It is a research collaborative between our home institution, which is the Center for Strategic and International Studies in Jakarta, and Google, Indonesia. And we aim to identify policy gaps and points of intervention within the upstream part of disinformation campaign. What we mean by this is during that year when this research initiative is established, the region is warming up. Many of the countries within the regions are preparing for the year to come, which is 2024, which is the year of great election, as we all may know. Indonesia is one of the countries. We had an election in 2024, and so we begin the research on disinformation, particularly electoral disinformation. We researched how the political buzzers or political cyber troopers coalesce and then form a sub-industry, and then how they move and create the so-called influence operation during the elections, and whether they will create similar campaign in the 2024 election. We conducted survey nationwide to investigate how the susceptibility of voters, of users, to misinformation, whether they are still believing to, for example, misinformation that were circulated 10 years ago. So we did survey on the, we did research on the production side of disinformation, on the recipient side of disinformation, but we also conducted research on the platform side of disinformation. So how content moderation evolved, as well as what are the avenues for government and civil society to influence the way content is decided to be treated in social media ecosystem in Indonesia. So following the spirit of Internet Governance Forum, we employ multi-stakeholderism, and we employ multidisciplinary approach to capture the magnitude and gravity of disinformation. But we are currently also branching out to other issues related to information ecosystem as the issues that we are going to talk about more in details later on. So my colleague here will tell more about what have we done in the previous year.
Okay. As often discussed in the global forums, ensuring a safer internet calls for joint action across different sectors, across borders. So we are also trying to turn multi-stakeholder partnership into action. As part of our effort to strengthen the regional and international collaboration, we join several networks, such as the Network of Global Centers and also Association of Internet Researchers and the International Panel on the Information Environment. We also engage with a wide range of stakeholders across Asia Pacific, from government institutions, civil society to academia, to exchange knowledge, insights, and also perspective on information landscape. Alongside our effort on the multi-stakeholder collaboration. Research also what we have done. Conducting research is a key part of understanding the information landscape. And this year, we are focusing on the internet safety in Asia Pacific, particularly on the foreign information manipulation and interference, deepfakes in online fraud and scams, and also the democratic impact of generative AI. So, what did we find?
Thank you. So before I'm given the opportunity to present a tiny bit of the findings that we did throughout the years, a bit of disclaimer first. Whatever it is that I'm going to convey in the next few minutes, it's a part of the 4 different and distinct research. So if you want to learn more about it, we're always available in our booth. Just right around the corner, you will find the Safer Internet Lab booth, in which we've already printed some of the research for you. And if you find that there are countries that are relevant to your current area of work, we'll be happy to provide you with that report as well. And as we are also continuously branching out to all countries and area of policy areas within Asia Pacific. So first, this is a research that's conducted by a college of ours back in Jakarta, back in CSIS. We conducted an expert survey to complement the public survey. So we asked a series of questions to stakeholders in Indonesia, whether it is from tech platform, civil society, government actors related to information ecosystem across all level of seniority, across various background and across various level of decision making. We set out a few questions to try to, as best as possible, map the stakeholder perception to the way we govern the information ecosystem. And one of the findings of probably 60 to 70 questions that we asked, and we had a rather good turnout, I would say. We had 200 to 300 stakeholders participating from the Ministry of ICT to big tech platform and to civil society. So we are happy with the turnout of the survey. But one of the findings is that no matter how defined the academic consensus is about disinformation and misinformation, the way our stakeholder perceive what disinformation and misinformation entails are still varied. The screen here might be too small or too small for you to see the details, but we ask and we are given we give the stakeholders some example whether they think that pseudoscience is a form of misinformation, whether they think that satire and parody are misinformation, whether they think that propaganda is a misinformation. But the takeaway from this, the data that we crunch, is that there is hardly any consensus about any types of content that are determined as misinformation and disinformation. And that brings to the consequences of the way we treat the content, because not every content can be solved with a blunt instrument of takedown, for example. There are contents that requires nuances, and yet the way stakeholders perceive whether this content is a disinformation are still varied. We are also asking whether we are also asking stakeholders of different background whether they think that they're doing a good job, and whether they think that the other stakeholders are doing a good job. And this is one of the backbone of multi-stakeholder collaboration that we try to investigate further, whether the government thinks that society is doing a good job in handling misinformation, whether civil society are thinking that tech platform are doing a good job in encountering disinformation. We put out 2 metrics, perception on performance and transparency. And as it turns out, unsurprisingly, civil society and fact checkers are the most, the one that are deemed by stakeholders to be having a good transparency and good performance, followed by international organization and mass media, and then electoral management bodies, the ICT ministry, and the tech platform are perceived. They could have done more. They would do well to be more transparent and poor performance. And we convey this to them. Lastly, on this part of the research, we also asked that Despite the blooming programmatic partnership between stakeholders, we've seen many media and fact-checking partnership going on. We've seen many initiatives. Our initiative is one of them. But can that collaboration continue? Can that collaboration be sustainable? Or what kind of challenges does the collaboration face? And most of the stakeholders would say that at the very essential, government, tech platform, and civil society are having different priorities. And then there's also difference in vision and priorities amongst stakeholders, as well as the absence of institutional mechanism that can safeguard the continuation of such collaboration. So while we are happy that the collaborations are blooming, sadly, at least in the case of Indonesia, most partnership remains to be ad hoc and temporal, if you will. So that's one research. The second research is we conducted interviews with, I think, 10 countries from the Philippines, Australia, Taiwan, South Korea, Indonesia, Malaysia, whether they have experiences the extent of generative AI to election. And whether the regulation, the electoral regulation, as well as the ICT regulation are well prepared to overcome the incoming impact of generative AI to election. And what we found is, obviously, civil society are at the forefront of generative AI-based disinformation in election, but they are, again, often limited by the lack of stable and continuous funding, short electoral cycle, and weak state partnership. And this table is just to illustrate the variety of Gen AI usage in election that we are telling in more details in each of the country report that hopefully still available in our booth, as well as the patchy legal responses by the government of state jurisdiction and the capacity and the focus of the civil society operating within that jurisdiction. So that's research number 2. Research number 3, that uneven and patchy landscape is also visible when it comes to online scam, because if the way we think about it, online scam is also a form of financial disinformation. So we also examine whether each of the country being examined has an adequate infrastructure, innovation, and data governance, and we see that there is also a patchy terrain in that as well. But what is not patchy is that the more people encounter scams, at least once a month, that the less likelier for them to distrust the internet in general. And this can bring a dire consequences to a region that are otherwise blooming with the digital economy as a new catalyst of economy. And everyone can be a scam victim, regardless of their demographics. The younger people in Singapore, for example, tend to be overconfident with their ability to detect scam. But then again, 30% of the victims in Singapore are aged 29 and below. So it's not always the digital illiterate one that can fall prey to online scams. Foreign-born population in South Korea are vulnerable targets for online scams due to language barrier. So again, we see whether it is on electoral issue or in financial and fraud issue, we see a patchy regulatory responses in all countries being represented. And lastly, this is a research on FIMI, which is on foreign information manipulation and influence, a topic of research that are otherwise, I would say, more present in area of conflict zones. It's widely discussed in Eastern Europe, for example, and we try to carry on the discussion in the Asia Pacific, given the increasing region and geopolitical tension and geopolitical competition in Asia Pacific. And we see that, so this blue line is the amount of foreign information manipulation and influence in the digital media, and the orange line is the influence on traditional media. We see a spike in 2022 during the start of Russia-Ukraine war. But we see an overall increasing trend of information manipulation and influence across both channels. And not only that, we also see the rise of non-state and unspecified actors that are also participating in influencing the public opinion through various tactics such as, you name it, astroturfing or flooding or just good old disinformation. The spike, the lows and the high of this graph correspond to the geopolitical flashpoint, if you will, to geopolitical episodes, and then we believe that it is also something that needs to be accounted for by policymakers in Asia Pacific. So that is a slight bit of our research. Where do we go from here?
Yeah, all of our research findings and op-eds are available on our website, saverinternetlab.org, or you can simply scan the QR code on the screen. You can also visit our booth at the IGF Village to pick up the printed copies of our publications, to discuss about the issues, and connect directly with our team. And we now open the floor for any questions or comments you might have.
Thank you. Yes?
Okay, the lady in the back.
Hi, I'm a journalist from Indonesia. I want to run it back to you and also just help me paint the picture. So, you guys did a research on around the election last year. Yes, please just do you guys do any? Do you guys run your findings with the government directly, or is there any just with the stakeholder mentioned in your in the publications in the screen? Just let me know. Thank you.
Thank you for your question. So our primary stakeholders of engagement during the election season are obviously the electoral supervisory body and the electoral, I don't know what's the name in English, electoral commission. So the one that runs the election and the one that supervises the election. Because those two are the direct mandate carrier on how campaigns are being operated, on how violations of campaign, whether through online media and through traditional media, is being investigated. So the advisory that we engage are primarily with the electoral actors, although we were also aware that given the limited regulatory agency of said electoral body, we are also engaging with the ICT ministry because they're the ones that are more capable in implementing a more binding regulation related to online ecosystem. So we also engage with the ICT ministry from the previous administration, because now we have a new administration with the newly elected president. So I believe that the engagement, I would say, is twofold back during the election time. One is in the implementation side, in which we engage more with the electoral bodies, and one is more on the long-term side in the ICT ministry. Thank you.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Vicky. I'm the chair of Global Network Initiative, but I've worked a lot in Myanmar. The other month I was looking at online romance scams on Facebook, and just sort of randomly seeing whether I could get Facebook to take down what were obviously fraudulent profiles. I noticed there were a lot of a particular, for example, Malaysian influencer, and I just wondered what your studies on online romance scams in the area have shown, both in terms of the responsiveness of platforms, but also in terms of the regulatory framework around this, because it seems to be a bit of a grey area as to whether or not these kind of things are actually illegal, even though they're obviously setting themselves up for defrauding the people who are going to fall for them.
Thank you, Vicky, and thank you for coming. Indeed, I think we used the term love scam, which I think romance scam is more appropriate. So we did research and I think interview some people who fall prey to love scam in Philippines, I think. And But then we framed the love scam activities as part of the tactics. So there's this love scam, but there is also like a business scam. There's also other methods of scam. I'm not sure if in our booth we've already printed the quantified version of that research, but we will definitely get back to you on the landscape of the number of people that fall prey, how many people that fall prey to scam actually fall prey to love scam, and the, 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 the amount of money that they lost from that scam. I would say that the key commonalities between all these methods of scam being examined is overconfidence, I think, because not only in love scam, but in business scam, a company treasurer was scammed to transfer a huge amount of money through deepfake Zoom by the crime actors. And also in love scam, they are confident because they to transfer the money because they've met the person for several cases. And we did also try to engage with the stakeholders that are responsible for love scam, but across many markets being examined, unfortunately, we did not see a differentiation, or not at all, but we don't see much differentiation between the types of methods and the types of loss that are entailing with each of the scams. So the bottom line here, I think stakeholders are still valuing, let's say, financial loss of the scam more than, let's say, psychological loss of love scam, as well as the like a physical loss of love scam. And I think there is definitely future policy pathways to be advocated in the region. So thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much for the presentation. I enjoyed very much.
Thank you.
Perhaps I would like to ask more about the follow-up actions from the results of your research. It seems like there are some concerns, risks that generative AI may have influenced the results of our elections. And it's sad to say that the influence is quite dire because that determines the quality of our democracy. And in that sense, what would be Indonesian experience to be shared with us in terms of following up from that situations? The way the electoral commissions or the civil society make sure that this kind of practices, the generative AI in terms of deep fakes and disinformation, misinformation can be tackled. Because I remember clearly in 2024, I was in Jakarta, part of the ASEAN parliamentarians' effort to monitor the election, and in general it was quite okay. But then when you speak to certain actors, they have grave concerns of how the election was being conducted. So I just want to know about the experience of Indonesia in that sense. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the question. I would say before the answer, I would like to provide some comments probably. So I think across many areas being examined, there is this, I wouldn't say like overconfidence, but there is a big trust in the media and literacy program, which is good in itself. But if the policymakers are focusing more or are only focusing on the media information literacy, there is a thin line between educating users and shifting the responsibility to users to make their own judgment whether this information is factual or not. Because I think in some of the regulatory output that are focusing more on the literacy program, it needs to be superseded with a more with other intervention that can stop misinformation right at the point of infection and not only at the point of the recipient. So that's the first comment. And definitely the way Indonesia handled the previous election, especially with the ongoing like a deep AI use and misuse, the regulation related to, because when we're talking about the government operates with like a regulation that legitimizes their action, and then the regulation that legitimate their action comes first, and then after that, a year later, generative AI was booming. So basically, what I'm saying is, I believe that the way we handle 2024 election was still using the 2023 playbook, because the playbook was written back then, and then the let's say the pace of the regulation cannot match with the pace of use and misuse of generative AI. But then again, same goes with the civil society that tries to go into places where the government or tech platform cannot. I believe that there's also, if I'm allowed to criticize fairly, civil society are also still using the 2020 playbook, in which, again, misinformation and disinformation are the primary tactics of that election, on the previous election cycle. But in this particular election cycle, I'm not sure if misinformation are the primary tactic for public opinion manipulation. So I believe that the message here is, as the threat changes, so does the playbook. Thank you.
Okay,
Yeah.
I think that wraps up our session. Thank you once again for your time and the discussion. We look forward to continuing the conversation at our booth.
Thank you.